Hey guys, welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo here on the Chuckload of Comics YouTube show, also simulcast on the Chumpcast podcast.
Chumpcast!
Joining us here in the booth for the first time ever, author and creator of Vader and Son, Ray and Pals, the one, the only Mr. Jeffrey Brown. How's it going, man?
Great, thank you.
I love your book. We first saw your book at our local comic book shop, Chicago Comics.
Yep.
They love your
Great
book.
shop.
They
I love
push
them.
that shop everywhere.
Yeah.
Is that one of your regular haunts?
It is. Well, it's a little out of my neighborhood, so.
Oh, okay. Where exactly are you?
I'm in Albany Park.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, you write some of
Yeah.
the cutest, most hilarious, and I mean, the children's comic books, but also for sort of young adults. Can you tell us a little bit about the first one that I saw, Vader and Son? Is that the one that sort of launched the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, and it was one of those books, like, I think people think of it as a kid's book, but when
Right.
when I started writing it, I thought I was writing for me, basically. Like, people who grew up with Star Wars now have kids, and then, throw Vader in all these parenting situations that I was going through. Thought it'd be really funny, and so adults, they started picking it up, and then the kids were like, "No, this is clearly my
For
book."
me.
Like, and then I hear from adults, they're like, "Yeah, my kid stole my copy, so I needed to get another one." And
Nice.
and so that kind of kicked it off, and that led to the Jedi Academy series for middle grade readers, which is like middle school set in the Star Wars universe.
Oh,
and
great.
then it went back to the Vader series with Vader's Little Princess, and all the way through now, where Ray and Pals is the newest.
As you can see right here.
Yeah. How long have you been sitting on these one pages? Because really, I mean, if you open the book, it's sort of a series of one page. It's kind of one-liner jokes. Are these jokes you've always been sitting on, or did you come up with the idea?
Some of them, for each book, I kind of go through the process of I sit down and I start a new sketchbook and come up with about 100 to 150 ideas. Actually, with Ray and Pals, there was even more ideas, because it'd been a while since I'd kind of done the one-panel gag comics. It's a little different writing those than writing like the middle grade stories that have a longer narrative arc. And so there was, like, when the new movies came out, I was taking a break from doing any Star Wars books, and I was like, I want to see these new movies as a fan and just enjoy them and not have to think about, like, while I'm watching this for the first time, like, oh, how could I use this idea? And so I hadn't really, like, thought of any jokes until we decided we could do another book, and then I just sat down with a sketchbook and just kind of, like,
Yeah.
and it was, like, hard at first because it was, like, a different mindset, and then I got going, and
I mean, they're absolutely they're the cutest and sometimes the funniest books. I mean, you're gonna thumb through. They're great. They're great coffee table books for adults. Great things you can read to your kids, especially if they're Star Wars fans. What, like the other book you got up here? This My Teacher is a Robot.
So that's my first picture book. This one I did write for the kids. So
Okay.
I haven't heard from any kids yet about their parents stealing it from them. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. But it's just the story of this kid Fred, who, like me, grew up just drawing all the time and using his imagination in school, and like he really thinks school's going to be boring. He thinks his teacher's a robot and just wants everybody to be boring robots. And then he uses his imagination in school, and it kind of takes over, and then draws in the rest of the class. And
That's awesome.
So you do you write them and illustrate them.
Yeah. I grew up. I always loved drawing. Like I would read comics. I'd draw the comics. One of my big influences was Star Wars. Like I would see the Ralph McQuarrie concept art, and I'd draw
Setting
my
the bar
own
kind of high there, aren't you, as a kid?
You're right.
I didn't know any better. And then but I also always loved writing. Like I always loved like writing stories and telling stories. And comics, it's like you get to draw and you get to tell the story.
Yeah.
So there's no better
Combination,
format
right?
to work in, I think, for me.
So the other book you have up here, the Once Upon a Space Time.
Yeah, that's my new series for middle grade readers. So for those of you who are still hoping that I come back to Jedi Academy, maybe someday, but for now, it's a new science fiction series about two human kids and a bunch of alien kids on a spaceship exploring the galaxy with minimal adult supervision. So it comes out in June.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So where can people, outside of Chicago Comics, which we highly recommend you go to Chicago Comics, pick up all of Jeffrey's books, but where else can people find them?
Yeah, your local comic shops hopefully are carrying them, or if they aren't, it's because they're sold out, I hope. But your any independent bookstore should be able to order
Great.
them, or you can always go to those other places.
Do you have that
Amazon,
table set up
Barnes.
here at the convention?
I don't
this
have
year?
a table
No?
set up here, but I will be. I'll have a panel later this afternoon, and I'll be
Awesome.
signing in the autograph area after that. So that's signing at 5:30, I think, and panel is at 4:15. And I don't remember the room. But then Sunday, over at Family HQ,
Yeah.
I am going to MC the kids' costume parade
Sweet.
contest.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
so I'm really
That's
excited.
right.
Like one of the
That's
inspirations.
why we had to move your interview, because
Yeah.
we had you double booked. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I double booked myself. I do that to make sure that I feel popular. But no, like one of the inspirations for getting back into the Star Wars books and doing Ray and Pals was, I would go to conventions. I'm signing Darth Vader and Son and Vader's Little Princess, but kids started coming up dressed as Ray, and so
Oh,
many kids dressed
yeah.
as Ray, and I was like, so I
need
started
something
doodling
too.
Ray, and I was like, oh, Ray's
Ray's adorable,
Ray's kinda
especially in
cool. So
childlike
I'm
mode.
excited to see like you get the brother sister duos of Ray
Yeah.
and BB-8. and,
Yeah.
So Sunday morning at the
Great.
Family HQ. Check it out.
Oh,
Two of the questions, like,
nice.
how do you get away with? Because Lucasfilm doesn't mess around with their likeness rights. How do you get away with that?
I mean, it's all my Star Wars stuff is officially licensed.
Is it?
And
Oh, nice.
it was one of the things where I knew I wanted to make the books with the real characters. I didn't want to have to turn it into parody and make it,
Right.
like turn it into dark bad guy. And,
Yeah.
I wanted to use the actual scenes, the actual dialogue and everything. And,
Yeah, the actual lines
and,
that you see a lot.
and so I was fortunate in the timing. It was before Disney had bought them, and they were,
Oh,
kind
wow.
of open to
Nailed
things.
it.
And went through my publisher, Chronicle Books, who I'd worked with before and other stuff, but I knew they also did a lot of Star Wars books. I was like, maybe they have a little bit of an in to Lucasfilm. So they took it, and then it turned out that someone at Lucasfilm knew my earlier autobiographical adult
Oh my gosh,
work,
that's perfect.
and so it all kind of was perfect timing.
Yeah.
Couldn't have worked out better.
Holy
and,
cow, no kidding.
and so the process-wise, they go through every stage, give feedback from sketch to pencils to final
Wow.
art. But I've been really fortunate that everyone's really gotten what I'm doing, and so the process has been.
I mean, how do you
really
say no
enjoyable.
to something like
Yeah.
Vader and Son
Yeah, I
and
mean, you
Ray and
can't-
Pals?
yeah.
I mean,
It's-
you're
it's
Disney
too
for
cute,
crying out
yeah.
loud. So last thing I want to say, and it's more of a pitch, for your next book.
Okay.
I mean, we're living in the world of Baby Yoda right now. I mean, we're living in the
Oh,
world of
man.
Mandalorian. It almost screams Jeffrey
Yeah.
Brown book, right?
Yeah, I haven't.
he can't.
You
he
know
can't
you're
final
you're
it.
watching Mandalorian on Disney Plus,
No,
and you're thinking
I
about
have-
it.
So it's funny. Before the Mandalorian came out,
Mhm.
and Disney's hush hush, so I had no idea. I was at a library event the summer before it came out, and a kid was like, "Can you draw Yoda as a baby?"
No way.
And I drew Yoda in a diaper, and his sister was saying "Oh yeah, he's obsessed with the idea of baby Yoda."
Really?
God.
It's like.
Is this like George
Whoa.
Lucas's grand? This is like,
it's like what-
John Favreau's grandkid or something.
Yeah.
It's like, was you part of some market research that Disney was doing?
Yeah,
They
And
just
right.
plant children in bookstores around the country.
Yeah. So yeah, I
So you
I've only
drew a baby Yoda
yeah. So
before.
not, and I have to say, not as cute as
Aw.
The actual thing?
as Baby Yoda has I was like,
I don't know.
oh my gosh.
That's hilarious. Well,
But,
guys,
so maybe someday, yeah.
yeah, we'll definitely
this is-
find Jeffrey Brown and all of his awesome books. Do you have a website where people can go to?
Yeah, JeffreyBrownComics.com. I sometimes update it. I'm probably I'm too busy drawing to worry about the online stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, definitely go to a local comic book
It's
store.
fairly updated.
Find one of his books. They're absolutely worth your time, worth your money. They're phenomenal. We love them. So, Jeffrey, thanks a lot for being here,
Yeah,
man.
thank you so much for
Good
having
luck
me.
at the Child's Cosplay Parade and,
And
the panel you're
panels
doing later on today.
and the signing and
Yeah.
everything here at C2E2.
Great.
All
Thank
right,
you.
guys. Well, stick around for more con coverage all weekend long here on the YouTube channel Chuckload of Comics and also on the Chumpcast, guys. We're just getting warmed up here at C2E2. We're here all 3 days, so we'll see you around the con floor. Have a fantastic convention. See you here next time.